Well, everybody, welcome back to the Trick Podcast of Joey and GOZOtv on this lovely Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this video. Talking today about a very, very, very important topic that I've been wanting to address for a long time, and that is the law of attraction. And is that the new mindset of 2020 that you and I and everyone needs to absorb or adhere to or believe? And so let me tell you my thoughts, and then I want to leave this as a Q&A. If you have a question or a comment, please leave it below in the comments below. And by the way, welcome wherever you're watching me, whether on Instagram Live, on Twitch, on YouTube Live, on Twitter Periscope, or on Facebook Live. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to GOZOtv, bringing joy and gozo to the whole family. Because though there's pain in the night, gozo comes in the morning. Gozo, by the way, means joy in Spanish. I think we all know that. But just in case, by the way, if you are new to me, my name is David Trigg, and I am a spiritual leader, pastor, musician, bringing you joy every day to your digital world. So first, let me tell you a story, and then I'll define what the law of attraction is, and then I'll give you my thoughts. And then, as I said, please leave me your comment below, your question. If you have a comment, make sure that you share this broadcast with someone who believes in the law of attraction, or in positive mindset, or in manifesting, spirituality, the universe, all of these very, very, I guess, very popular topics. And so, or maybe you don't even know what those things are, but maybe you're into astrology, the horoscope, into ancestors. And, or maybe you have questions about that. What does that mean? Should I believe in that? What does the Bible say? You know, all of these things that I want to address here this morning. And I think I'm going to do maybe a series of videos on this topic because I really love this topic. I've studied it for many years, maybe 10 years. And I think I'll maybe do a series of videos. So make sure that you go to my YouTube page and subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, because as you know, YouTube is way better at cataloging videos, whereas on Facebook, you can't really follow a thread of videos. But so let me first define. I'll tell you a story first of all. So a couple of weeks ago, I was getting my oil changed, and I'd been there before many times to the local shop here in the area near my house. And so there's been this young man, let's call him Ed. And every time I'd go up to Ed, he was, checking me out and taking in all my data, all my information, all that stuff. He would always say, hey, what's your name? He seemed interested in just talking to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm like a father figure, an uncle figure. He was maybe a young man, Latino young man in his maybe mid-20s, early 20s, okay? Could be any color, any race, so that's not the point. But just some context, right? So at the end of our conversation, he asked me, hey, so what do you do? And I thought, well, I wonder how should I frame what I do. If I tell him pastor, a lot of people say, oh, okay, you're going to condemn me or convert me. Or if I say priest, which, a lot of us Latinos, we come from a Catholic background, maybe he would have some respect, but maybe that's it. Instead, I said, well, I'm a spiritual leader and I have a podcast. And immediately, I'm thinking, okay, how do I engage this young man? And I said, I'm on YouTube. And so obviously he's going to know that, right? He's going to relate to that. So he said, oh, really? What's your YouTube channel about? And I told him it's about positive thinking. And again, I don't want to say, are you a Christian? Do you go to church? I want the conversation to open up, right? And so he said, oh, do you believe in the law of attraction and in manifesting? And I said, well, let me tell you my thoughts on that. And so I described some of my thinking. And so I'll tell you more about that here. So that was maybe like a month ago. And then, like I said, 2 weeks ago, I went to the shop again for some other reason. And again, Ed was there and he said, hey, I remember you from last time. So obviously, just putting two and two together, he was interested, right? He's been looking into the law of attraction, into manifestation. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain that to you. Or if you don't, if you're over 40, you might not know what I'm talking about. Ask any 25-year-old or 30-year-old or anyone in that millennial generation. They will definitely know. Or ask simply your non-Christian friend, and they will know what I'm talking about. So he asked me again. He said, "Hey, are you that guy with that podcast on manifestation?" And I said, "Yeah, I do talk about a lot of positive thinking and about spirituality." Again, I'm trying to engage him, right, to have a conversation with this young man, knowing that we only have 30 seconds there at the tire shop, right? So I left him my card to my website, and I don't know, maybe he's even watching this. So hello, Ed. If you are watching this, I want to thank God for you and thank you for our conversation. So I don't know if he follows my podcast. I don't know if he watches my videos. Perhaps he subscribed to my YouTube channel. I don't know. So it reminded me of how important spirituality, the law of attraction, manifestation is to a ton of 20, 30-year-olds, maybe even 40-year-olds. Definitely to people that are more into the arts, into mysticism. They don't have to be 20-year-olds. It could be your Latina friend. It could be you as a Latina woman. A lot of Latinos, they are very superstitious. And I'm not condemning anything, okay? I'm simply kind of setting the platform here. I have a ton of Latina women, especially because, the women tend to be more open to spiritual things. That's why they're the ones that go to church primarily, drag their husbands. And so many of them are open to the law of attraction or into positive mindset or into manifesting or into the horoscope, astrology, into connecting with our ancestors. And the reason why, now I took a class when I was in school about mental health and culture, but when it comes to spirituality, the reason why some of these things are so attractive to certain cultures, perhaps more than others, is because of the heritage, the cultural heritage. So obviously the Latino heritage has a ton of mixture of native beliefs from, the natives, what Columbus called Indians. They were not Indians, but the native people of the Americas, who obviously looked to the stars and looked to the pyramids or the ruins or to animals and to a lot of native belief, and then mixed with the Catholic Inquisition, right? So when Columbus came and Queen Elizabeth and all of them, King Carlos, I think, right, came to conquer the Americas, or the Indias as they thought it was, they brought over their religious beliefs, their way of looking at God, which was the Catholic way, right? Jesus on a cross. And so for a lot of people in the Americas, and this happened in the Philippines, this happened in Africa to some degree. In the States, not so much. The States had more of a British thing mixed with, I would say, more independence as kind of a second religion. So that's a little interesting. Excuse me, but what happened was that a lot of native people, let's say in this case, Latino people, they grew up with a very comfortable way or with a spirituality that was comfortable mixing Santeria from Cuba and in the islands with Catholic belief, with herbs and the ancestors. And so there are many friends that I have, Latino women especially, that are very comfortable in this space of mixing and matching and of channeling and of being brujas, as we used to call them. And so all of this kind of stuff that is to this day. And now, speaking now of what's happening right now with this virus, I am sure that this kind of thinking is going through the roof. That people that are into this, just like you as a Christian, just like if you're an atheist or if you're into materialism, you're diving even deeper into your thing, right? Same thing with the law of attraction or manifestation. People today, whoever they are, whether they're millennials that are looking at positive mindset and manifestation, or whether they're Latina women who are into spirituality or this mixture of beliefs, this stuff is obviously very important to people right now because of the lack of certainty. So I would love your question, your comment below. You have a question. Do you have any questions? I know this can be a very, I think it's a very interesting topic and very relevant topic. As I said, my friend from down the street, he asked me right away when I mentioned that I'm a spiritual leader. He said, "Are you into manifestation?" And so then it was good to talk to him about that. And so what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, your questions? Now, if you're a person of faith, meaning if you're a Christian, obviously I know what your thoughts are, which are my thoughts. So I don't want to go into that per se, okay, into like what's wrong with this. I want to more investigate how are people's views today. How can we, let's say now speaking of us as Christians, can we engage that conversation? So before we jump to judgment or to right and wrong, which of course is important, right? You have to have a sense of right and wrong, and I do as well. I wonder what I would love to see people on here. I don't know if we have many people here right now. I don't think so, but I would love to have someone here who actually has looked into it and is very interested in these ways of thinking, into manifestation, the law of attraction, The Secret, that book and movie that came out 10 years ago. Or maybe has a friend or someone at work. I mean, my guess is you have, again, if you're especially a woman, not to say that men don't do this, but if you're a millennial or if you are Latina women, most of the time, not stereotyping, but just what I've noticed, you definitely are either aware of this, into it yourself, or you have friends that are into the law of attraction, into manifestation. Another example, I have a young friend who I worked with at USC, and he is now, I think he's into real estate. And so, especially these days, for the last month, every morning on his Instagram stories, and I think maybe on his feed, he posts third eye thoughts. So if you're not familiar with the third eye or the chakras, so that's another way of looking at energy, at vibrations. I have another friend who's a dear friend of mine, and she definitely believes in that healing comes from being connected to energy, to the universe. And so again, this is not, quote, a Christian sermon on what is wrong and what is right. I have done those sermons, and I definitely have my own beliefs as a follower of Jesus on this. But I'm more interested in the conversation about it. What are your thoughts on this? What questions do you have? Do you think that astrology, the horoscope, are you into the horoscope? I mean, why is it that all of us know the horoscope? Our sign, or maybe you don't, but your daughter does, or your in-law does. Maybe your parents back in Mexico are still, I don't want to involve necessarily Catholicism into this, but you could say that the Catholic faith is definitely more along the lines of spirituality because of the images, the saints, the artifacts. There's a lot of tangibleness, a lot of sacredness, not this pursuit, let's say us evangelicals have for right and wrong thinking. Where can right and wrong thinking go wrong? Especially these days. Why is it that people of faith, people of Jesus right now, we're not showing up in the world? Why is it that most of the streams that I see online are, in terms of Christians and pastors, they seem to be almost off, kind of like out of touch. They're speaking a language that even I, as a pastor, don't understand. I don't mean about tongues. I'm just talking about the way it's all presented. And is that maybe normal of all of us? Maybe we all do this, right? So I'd love to know your thoughts. What are your questions? What are your thoughts on this? Do you know someone who is into the law of attraction, manifestation, into The Secret, into positive mindset, third eye, chakra, new age, what they call it, or really it's Buddhism, truly what, and I've preached about this in my church hundreds of times. And again, for most people, this goes over their head. And I don't know why. I mean, I think it's unfortunate. It's almost like, imagine if someone said to you, hey, have you heard of an app called Amazon? And you asked, let's say 100 people, and they're like, what is Amazon? You would say, what is wrong with you? Sometimes I feel that way. Like, I don't get it why people don't know what the law of attraction. Okay, I don't want to. Here's what I mean to say. It's normal that you may not know what this is. My point is, I think sometimes us as followers of Jesus, we fall trap into only having friends that only have Christian friends. We no longer engage with the outside world. And I think that hurts us more than anything. How are we going to reach people? I bought a book a couple months ago called We Need to Learn How to Speak of God Once Again, written by Jonathan Merritt. I think his name is Merritt. He's the son of a Southern Baptist preacher. And I love that book. And I haven't read the whole thing, but I think that the problem that many of us Christians have, and I'm trying to break out of this problem, is we don't know how to speak non-churchy language. We don't know how to speak to that millennial who on Instagram, all they follow are law of attraction and positive mindset and Deepak Chopra feeds and ways of thinking. And they are sitting in your church. They're your kids. Now, of course, there are a lot of young people that are definitely focused on Jesus and the Bible and the beliefs that we hold. And so, of course, but I guess my point is, if we're going to engage a largely secular world and spiritual world, are we going to be able to speak their language? Coming out of this whole mess, hopefully we will, right? Whenever that happens. The church I know is expecting, the churches, mine included, are expecting people, young people, to just rush our churches and just want to knock down our doors, right? I don't know. Maybe that'll happen, but will they hear a message that makes sense to them? If they're already into manifestation, the law of attraction, like Ed, my young friend from the mechanic down the street, will he see in me someone who understands him? Will we be able, as followers of Jesus, to lead someone who is into these things to the truth of Jesus? Of course we can. Of course there is the truth of Jesus. But these are the questions that I have that I'd love to think about, because, as I said, I have been studying and looked into and found a lot of good and bad in these ways of thinking, the law of attraction, into Jay Shetty. I mean, if you don't know, again, what I'm talking about, then just ask a 28-year-old, your son, your daughter, your friend, ask a Latina woman, maybe in her 40s or 60s, 70s, and they will tell you. Or go to YouTube and just type in Jay Shetty or the law of attraction or manifesting, and you will see millions and millions of views, mostly by young people that are looking for something in their lives to believe in. Or again, the horoscope, astrology, the beliefs in all of these things. Now, of course, we as Christians will say that's dark. Of course. I mean, that's where we eventually want to land. But my question is, how do we engage this mass of people? There are millions of people right now in this crisis that are looking to Buddhism, into the third eye, into the chakras, and into energy and into vibrations for hope. And so how do we as people of faith of Jesus engage that conversation? What are the questions that you've had? I remember, I don't know, years ago, I had a dear friend. She was one of my spiritual mentors at another church. And she came to me in secret, almost like Nicodemus, took me out to coffee to ask me if I believed in dinosaurs, because she did. And then she asked me more kind of deeper questions about, I think, what else she asked me about? About UFOs. Yeah. And my point is that this was a saint who knew Jesus, who had been loving God for maybe 50, 60 years. She was in her 70s, a spiritual leader in the church. And she said that she had never been comfortable asking anyone about these questions until we met. And so I guess for me, I long to be someone who can help people find Jesus along the journey. I think that it's just maybe a gift that different people have to maybe be radical. Others might be more loving. Neither is right or wrong. I think all methods are important, but I definitely long to be someone who can help people find Jesus along the journey. And if I have many friends, again, millennials, all colors, all races, 20s, 30s, 40s, who will continue to believe this into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, that are very much into the law of attraction, or their wives are. Again, as I said, mostly it's the women who, especially millennial women or Latino women. I don't see a lot of Asian women or African American women. Definitely the white culture, I would say, is definitely into this. Definitely, again, Latino women. I don't see a lot of Latino men into this. I see a lot of white men and millennials for sure. Tons, 20s and 30s of young people that are, I think the attraction, speaking of attraction, is because they want something. They want to get married, and they are hoping that something out there will give them the job or the success that they long for, the relationship that they need. And they saw their parents, and they see how they believed in the Catholic religion, or maybe they were Protestant. And a lot of young people that are seeking, they're like, that's not for me. I want something more complex, almost like a designer church, designer religion, a designer drug that is a combination of things and because the loudest voice, second to traditional church, is the law of attraction and the voice of manifestation. That is what most young people will believe, because it's on Instagram, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram stories, it's everywhere that young people are at. I'm sure it's on TikTok. It's almost like, I would say, the law of attraction and manifestation is one of two strong voices that millennials are listening to. One is the Tai Lopez and the business guru voice, and then second, the law of attraction voice. So those are the two strongest voices that young people are listening to, because they're exposed to it, because these voices are on TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. And so young people will obviously then believe that, because that's what they're being exposed to. Now, there are some, I have, of course, a lot of friends that are into these mega church preachers. And they, Steve Furich, right, from the church in North Carolina, Elevation Church, right? He's very popular because, again, these preachers are almost like law of attraction preachers. They preach in motivational styles. It's, of course, about Jesus in the Bible, but the way they deliver it is not traditional. It's like tweets. It's like, wow, I want to believe in something that is snappy, and these guys obviously are popular. They're all like dressed to succeed. And so for a lot of young people that are tired of the traditional church with all the traditional stuff, they see someone like Steve or Joel Osteen or some of these other guys, and who speak in very snappy and tweetable ways, motivational preachers. Of course, they're going to believe and follow. And that's why you see these churches have millions and millions of young people in their pews, or these days online. And I don't really have anything to judge or to say right and wrong. I am just kind of painting a picture for you, if you're not familiar with some of these things, on what the law of attraction and what manifestation looks like for millions of young people. I don't have statistics. Maybe I will bring them out next time on how many people are into this. I mean, let's say you work in an office with mostly 20 and 30-year-olds. It's 80% of them are into this, or they know exactly what I'm talking about. And honestly, I have a heart for them. I want to engage them, and I want to be able to enter their world and to converse. I don't want to just go in there with a whip and judge people. I've done that, and I think it's harmful. Same with Latino women who are into the horoscope. I don't want to go in there with a whip and say, evil, Satan. I want to be able to converse and lead them towards the truth. And I think that's just one way. I'm not saying that's the only way. Sometimes I get into my more prophetic way, and I want to kind of drag people out of their beliefs, because sometimes I think we need to be like, snapped out of our sleep, awakened. But I would say, speaking of awakened, that most people these days, they would consider being awake. They would consider that leaving the church. They would consider leaving the church as being awake. They would consider people that go to church as people who are asleep. So that's another word that is very familiar. Now, what is great about the church? I mean, besides Jesus' love, kindness, and forgiveness, well, everything. But I think that we have to learn how to speak of God once again. And so, well, no questions. I only have one person here, so I'm going to just go. I don't want to waste my time. But if you have a thought or a comment, please let me know. I would love to engage this topic with anyone out there who wants to learn more about how to engage these things and how to converse, maybe not for you, but for your friend who is into the horoscope, for your daughter who is into manifestation, and to your son who is 26 and who wants to succeed and who is putting on their Instagram stories third eye quotes. This is for them. So, and I would love to converse and learn and engage and together grow and to lead people to the truth of Jesus. So, okay, I'll see you next time.